Hello students. So continuing the discussion on model number 5. So here we with lecture 2, in which we are going to discuss about polymers. In the general terminology we call them as plastics. The properties, processing methods and the application. And we are going to discuss about the classification of these polymers. So how exactly we are going to process them, and what are the properties which makes them to stand unique among these metals and ceramics. So when we look into these words, plastic in general, so we call them as a polymers. Poly plus mers. Poly means many, mers means a small monomers. Monomers are something like a building blocks of these polymers. Something like a bricks which normally we use to build a house. Similarly, so we have a monomers which are nothing but a building blocks for plastic. So when we have these monomers in a large number which are linked in a different fashion, okay, either in a linear or a two dimension or a three dimension. So depending upon how these monomers are linked together, whether they are linked in a linear chain or whether they are linked in a 2D or a three dimensional manner, like a three dimensional network. So these polymers or plastics are classified into two categories. So thermoplastics and thermosetting. So here, so these polymers, the monomers are bonded with a hydrogen or a oxygen or a carbon or a nitrogen. Okay, there may be a single bonded or maybe double bonded structures depending upon their originality. So to process these things and to give a proper shape to these polymers, so there are many methods which are available depending upon the shape and the requirement of the end product. So here we can find the naturally occurring polymers also, like a rubber or the synthetic ones, where we are going to add a few fillers or a binders or a additives or a plasticizers to increase or to enhance the properties of the polymers. So when we look into the classification, there is a single bonded or a linear chain monomers and a three dimensional network linked monomers. So first category is the thermoplastics, which are linear chain monomers, and these are formed by addition polymerization. There are methods by which these polymers are going to form. One is a addition polymerization, one more is a condensation polymerization. Okay, so addition means monomers are added one by one with a single bonded or a linear bonded chains. So due to these linear bonding, these polymers or thermoplastics are soften at a low temperature, and the strength which they are going to possess is a little bit lower compared to the thermosets. In other words, thermosets are a three dimensional network. Okay, so where due to the presence of these three-dimensional network, the strength, the melting point, okay, so and the hardness which they possess are a little bit higher compared to the thermoplastics. So when you look into the properties, they are softer, okay, with the application of a heat, and once they are going to release the heat, they are going to get harder upon cooling. Okay, so these things can be cycled, okay, like a heating and a cooling cycle. Okay, so we can subject them for a number of heating and cooling cycles. Okay, they are having a straight or a long straight chain, that is a linear, no branching. Okay, so they are highly plastic and easy for molding shapes. Okay, so whenever we want to give a shape to the end product, any complex shapes are easily given by the thermoplastics. Okay, so recycling is possible here due to the linear chain. Okay, so recycling is possible in the thermoplastics. So example for these things, normally we use a polyvinyl chloride, PVC pipes, okay, polypropylene, okay, polyester or a Teflon tapes, okay, so ABS, that is acrylonitride, butadiene styrene, okay, so all these things will stand example for thermoplastics, so which can be easily molded with the help of heat. So in the other end, so we have a thermosets which requires a heat and a pressure to mold into the shape. Means there is a need of a little more high temperature in order to mold into the different shapes. So these are not going to get resoftened. Means in the thermoplastics we said these things can be heated and cooled for a number of times, but here in a thermosets, okay, so once they are subjected to the high temperature, okay, so they degrade themselves. Okay, so they have a three-dimensional molecular structure. Due to that, they possess a high strength and high melting point. Means melting point means they can withstand a high temperature. Not exactly they are going to turn into the liquid state. So instead of that, okay, so they will get softened and they will degrade at a high temperature. So due to these degradation at a high temperature, so the recycling is not possible with the thermosets. Okay. So for example, phenol formaldehyde, okay, polyester or epoxy resins, okay, so all these will, so that's how exactly we can differentiate the thermosetting polymers with the thermoplastics. So in general, so where exactly we are going to use or apply these thermosetting and thermoplastic polymers. So as we gave a few examples for thermosetting polymers, so we can say epoxies, silicone, polyesters, phenolics, okay, melanine, where exactly we're going to use araldite, adhesives, electrical moldings, machine and structural components. Okay, so where it needs a little more strength. Okay, so there we can go with these thermoplastics like laminates, strips, high temperature resistance components, helmets, fans, chairs. Okay, so thermoplastics like what we said, PVC pipes, okay, PET bottles. Okay, so those are easy for recycling and remolded. Okay, like a toys. Okay, so refrigerator covers, PVC pipes, okay, frying pan coatings. So wherever it is not required to withstand a high temperature, or not the strength is not a consideration. Okay, so there we can go with the thermoplastics. So elastomers like neoprenes, butyl, polyurethane, silicons, all these things are used where it comes to the oil seals, gaskets, okay, tires, okay, so like coatings, packagings, where the wear resistance and hardness is a matter of concern. Okay. So in day-to-day life we can have a n number of applications. So where we can differentiate or categorize the thermoplastics and the thermosetting polymers. So once we see the classification and the application, so what are the properties normally? Okay, as we discussed, like high hardness or maybe withstanding high temperature, okay, or moldable or remoldable characteristics and all. So in general, what are the properties normally we expect in the polymers or the plastics? So specific gravity, so specific heat, thermal conductivity, thermal expansion, electrical properties, corrosion resistance, combustibility, rigidity. Means, so once we choose particular application, so what are the properties that application requires? Okay, so depending on that, we are going to choose or define the different properties. So when it comes to the specific gravity, plastics are generally having a light specific gravity, okay, between 0.9 to 3 compared to the metal where we are going to have a 3 to 12, and their strength to weight ratio compared to the favorable with the many alloys. The strength will be more and lightweight. That is the one major advantage with the plastics. Okay. See, if the strength is not so comparable with the metals, but when we compare strength to weight ratio, so these polymers stands unique in comparison with the metals. Specific heat. Specific heat is the heat necessary to rise the temperature of 1 Kelvin, okay, of a 1 kg substances. It is a so specific heat is nothing but the amount of heat required to rise the temperature through 1 degree Kelvin of a substance which is of 1 kg. The specific heat of a plastic varies from 200 to 800 joule per kg per Kelvin as against 400 joule per kg Kelvin for a steel. Means it requires more heat to rise the temperature. Means it can absorb more heat to rise the temperature through 1 degree Kelvin. So wherever it is to have a insulation, okay, insulation, okay, so then we can go with the plastics or a polymers. So thermal conductivity is a comparatively very low. Okay, so there are a few plastics which are conductive in nature. Okay, so but in general, so thermal, when we compare the thermal conductivity, okay, with the metals, so these are standard very low. So even the thermal expansion of a plastic varies high, approximately 5 times thermal expansion of a aluminum, which is the main disadvantage, because these are going to change, okay, so with respect to the application of the heat, okay, there will be a more expansion. So when it comes to the electrical property, so as we said, so these are used for electrical insulators, okay, so due to the lack in the thermal conductivity and electrical conductivity. So and the advantage with polymers is corrosion resistance, okay, so they are resistance to the most of the inorganic chemicals, so they are used in chemical containers, okay. So they are plastics are brittle and yellow when exposed to the sun, that is photo degradation. Okay, plastics are resistant to attack by oils, greases, hence superior to the rubber, and they are used as a containers. Okay. Next is the combustibility. These are combustible because of presence of the carbon. The maximum service temperature may extend up to 100 degree Celsius. So normally if you use below that temperature, so these can be used with a safer hands. So rigid plastics have a low rigidity compared to the other plastics, because other materials, because at a, even if you apply a low heat and pressure, combination of that one will lead to the change in the shape and the structure of the polymers. So when it comes to the compounding of these polymers, okay, so there are a few materials which we need to add along with the polymers to facilitate the easy processing of the polymeric materials. Okay, so one is the binders. The purpose is to hold other constituent of plastic together. A binder may compose of 30 to 100% of plastic. The binder may be synthetic or may be natural resin. So if you recall, the matrix material which we discussed in the composite material is something like a binder, okay, so which binds all the reinforcement. So similarly here also, okay, so if you are going to use a binder which will facilitate the easy bonding of the particles. So second is the fillers. Fillers are added to reduce the cost and enhance the strength and the hardness of a plastic. Okay, so these are added like a secondary particle which will increase the strength of the composite polymeric materials. So these may be like a fibrous, okay, or a glass fiber or a mica or a non-fibrous materials. Okay, quartz or a mica are used to improve the hardness of polymers. Inorganic fillers like a asbestos improve the heat and corrosion resistance. The proportion of a filler can be added may lead to or maximum up to 50%. Okay, so these fillers will act as a secondary particle in by reducing the ductility, okay, or a plasticity. They can increase the strength of a polymeric material. So next are plasticizers. So low molecular weight material blended with the polymers are called plasticizers. So these are added to improve the flexibility and processing of a plastic articles and reduce the temperature and pressure required for a molding. Okay, so means they will increase easy processing of the polymers, okay, by enhancing the ductility or easy plasticity of the polymeric material. Example, polyester epoxy. So next will be blending. Blending or alloying is a combination of two or more distinct polymer molecules to form a new product. Okay. So just to enhance or increase the properties. Okay. So to give a boost up to the property which is present or to have the combination of the properties. Okay. We can go with the blending also. So next is the stabilizers. These are added to minimize the effect of a heat sunlight or a white lead barium cadmium or example like a photo-oxidation, okay, in order to reduce or minimize the photo-oxidation or a degradation, color degradation. So we can go with the stabilizers. So coloring agents. So these are added to give a desired color to the plastics. Some coloring agent are a zinc oxide, white lead aluminum or titanium dioxide. Okay. So depending upon the color which you need for a particular product. So once we see the different coloring agents and the materials which we add for easy processing of the plastic materials. So we'll see the classification of processing methods for plastics. So in that one, the first one will be molding process. Under that one, we are going to have a compression molding, transfer molding, injection molding, roto molding, expandable bead molding, and a blow molding. And the second, we have a extrusion, thermoforming, calendering, and casting. So now we'll see one by one. So what are the properties or the working methods in that one? So what are the advantages and disadvantages of each processing methods? So even in the molding also, so we can have a open molding as well as a closed molding process. So which depends on the degree of or the rate of production and the degree of freedom which we are going to have it when we are going to choose the different process. So first one will be the compression molding process. So in the compression molding process, as the name itself indicates, okay, so here the charge, okay, we call as a pre-pig which is mixed with a charge is placed inside the a lower part of the mold cavity, okay, and it is provided with the ejector pin, so which helps in easy removing of the end product and we are going to have a upper part of the mold cavity, so which is used in order to put a uniform pressure on the charge. Okay, so once it is compressed, so it is going to flow and fill the gap in between the upper and lower part of the mold, and after curing, so we are going to get a end product. So we are going to use a ejector pin for easy removal of the mold or the end product. Okay, so here a uniform pressure is applied and thin sections, okay, so which are defect free are obtained with this process. Okay, so here whenever we are going to put this raw material, so it is mixed with the charge which is going to uh, heat up that whatever the raw material which you have placed, okay, and softens, and which helps in easy molding of the raw material into the end product. Okay, so normally this is used in order to produce a thermoset plastics. And the next one is the transfer mold processing. Okay, so transfer molding is, so here we are going to have a charge, okay, in the upper part itself, and a plunger is used in order to transfer this charge into the mold cavity. Okay, so this is something like a mold part which is in a resemblance of the final product. Okay, so you can see it in the next figure, that is a figure B, where once the plunger pushes out this charge through the hole into the mold part, so we are going to get a uniform charging. Okay, so this is in order to what you call push the known quantity of the uh, plastic material, that is a raw material which is placed here. Okay, and it is once the end product is done, the product is removed and the sprue part is cut, and we are going to get a final product in this one. Okay, so that is what the transfer molding. So next one is the injection molding. So as the name itself indicates, here the molten plastic is injected into a mold cavity with the help of a plunger. Okay. So the raw material is transferred to the cavity from the hopper like structure. Okay, so then it is heated to have it or to soften that material, and then it is injected into the mold cavity with the help of a plunger. Okay, so the shape of the mold cavity is going to decide the shape of the end product. Okay, so there is a heating chamber in order to heat the material, okay, so into the softened part. Okay, so not exactly into the molten state. So normally it is used in order to process the thermoset plastics. Okay, so this is a like a, it is a fully closed chamber, so where we can see like a one movable and one fixed part in the mold. Okay, so the movable part is normally provided with the clamping system. So by declamping that one, so we can remove that one. So here we can automate this process, okay, in order to have the rate of production in a larger number. Okay, so if you go for a mass production and all, so one can easily automate this process in order to get a, or in order to increase the production rate also. So next, co-injection molding. So co-injection molding. So normally this type of molding makes it make mold article with the skin of one thermoplastic and a core of one more thermoplastic. Means two types of materials are used in order to produce the part. Okay, so the part which needs a high what you call hardness and all, it is placed over the outer surface, and the part which needs a softer, okay, so which needs a softening methods and all, so that will be placed at the center of the end product. So next one important process in the processing of plastic is a blow molding, normally used for what you call production of bottles, okay, PET bottles or containers of 5 liter, 10 liter and all. So here one needed is the Parison. Okay, so Parison is the raw material which normally we use for a blow molding process. So this is supplied by a standard supplier. So this is normally placed, okay, here, and there will be two mold parts okay, so which are closed, okay, so like as shown in the figure. So once it is done, so the hot air is blown from the bottom of the mold cavity, you can see it here. So once air is blown from here, a uniform pressure is applied on the surface of the parison, and it blows against the wall of the mold cavity, okay, and we are going to get a uniform thickness. So the thickness of that one is controlled with the amount or the pressure at which we are going to blow the air, okay. So normally this process is used in order to produce the PET bottles, okay, so containers, so which is for a different uh, chemical containers and all, okay. So next one will be the extrusion. So extrusion here, so we are going to have a screw, okay, so which is provided with the heating chamber, okay. So when this screw rotates forward or backward, so the amount of the plastic is going to flow out of the cavity, okay. So you can see, in order to ensure the temperature of the barrel, okay, thermocouples are provided at each point, okay, and there will be a hopper to um, supply the raw material. So it is fed to the hopper into the screw chamber. So in the screw chamber, so we are going to see three sections. One is the feed section, so where the raw material is supplied, and one more is the compression section, so where it is compressed and softened, okay. Next one will the metering section, so where a known weight is pushed out of the chamber into the mold cavity, okay. So here we are going to have a mold cavity chamber, so where a part of the mold is fixed and a part of the mold will be clamping and a declamping unit again. So this process is also fully automated in order to increase the rate of production, okay. So we can use different types of raw materials. Even the reusing of the plastics can be done using the extrusion process. So next will be thermoforming. So thermoforming is normally used in order to produce the plastic sheet material. Okay, so you can see it here. A sheet is placed here. Very thin sections are produced using the thermoforming. Okay, a thermoplastics is placed over here. Okay, so this is the shape which you are going to get it here, and here we are going to heat the thermoplastic. From the bottom side, a vacuum pump is used in order to create the vacuum. So once it is sucked to this one, so the plastic sheet is going to adhere to the surface of the mold. So whatever the shape we are going to prepare the mold cavity, in that one it is going to have it here, okay. So in order to have the curing of that process, so we are going to supply the cold air from the top, okay. So when the product is done, so you can remove that one and we can use it for a different process, okay. So next will be the calendering. So normally calendering is used in order to produce the thin sheets, okay, thin plastic sheets. So you can see the arrangement of calendering rolls, okay, so which are going to rotate in a different direction, that is opposite direction, okay. So a plastic sheet is fed and it is sectioned like this, okay. So in order to get a different shapes here, okay. So here the plastic sheets of a required thickness, okay, which can be used for a different process, okay. So he is the pass through the calendering rollers, okay. The distance between the rollers is going to decide the thickness of the sheet which we are going to get it at the end of the process, okay. So once we see the process, how these processes are carried out, so we'll see how these plastics are going to fail in a practical application, okay. So failure of the material, so are a phenomenological causes, okay. So what are the causes normally which leads to the failure of the plastic? So inherent material defects are the atmospheres where they are used are the major reasons for the failure. So that is what many a times we have discussed this one. So the condition at which we are going to test the end products and the condition which they face in the reality are totally different, okay. So reasons for failure may be thermo-oxidation, photooxidation, so degradation due to ionizing radiation or ultraviolet rays, so chemical attack, or environmental stress cracking, okay, so which is a normal cause for a failure of a plastic as a brittle one. So even when it comes to the human, okay, so human being, so who is going to operate these, okay, materials, okay, who is going to use that one? Say for example, when we are going to choose a raw material, okay, poor selection of a material, poor specification of a selection, poor design, poor processing, okay, and faulty usage of the product. So even when we are going to process that one, okay, so the selection of those material or even the selection of the process or designing of that end product, okay, so the mold cavity, all these things are going to matter, and any change in that one, which it will lead to the failure of the component. So now what are the advantages of the plastics? So they are light in a weight, okay, so possess flexibility, so you can easily mold to a different shapes and all. A wide range of color can be imported, okay, they can be made transparent, translucent or opaque, electrically insulating, resistant to atmospheric corrosion, ease of fabrication, so good mechanical property and dimensionally stable, low coefficient of friction, resistance to most chemicals and solvents, resistance to deterioration by moisture, very cost effective, easy maintenance, good sound absorption properties, can be easily fixed into positions. Means, so if you are going to compare the properties with the metals or maybe the ceramics, okay, so the advantages with the plastics normally are found to be corrosion resistance, and they can be easily molded. They can be easily molded to different shapes, okay, and they can be reused. Many a times most of the plastics are reused in order to use for a different purpose, and they are insulating in nature. Whenever we go for a covering of the wires, okay, these electrically conductive wires and all, so we go for a plastics which can withstand a high temperature also, and as well as the insulation nature also. So what are the disadvantages associated with the plastic? They are non-biodegradable, therefore a hazard to the environment. They cannot be used for high temperature application since they have a low heat resistance. So low hardness, disintegrate gradually with the passage of time, low creep resistance, so high coefficient of thermal expansion. Okay, so means whenever we are going to use, okay, so once the product is done with its function, so if they are not in a position to reuse, then they are of no use, they are not biodegradable, okay, so that is a major cause or a major fault with the plastics. Okay. So what are the applications? When you look into the application of the plastic material in a day-to-day life, we can find a number of applications, okay, so here we have listed according to the thermoplastics, thermosets and elastomers, okay, so like epoxies, silicons, polyester, phenolics, okay, melamine, polyethylenes of polyethylene, okay, polystyrene, nylons, okay, PTFE, there is poly tetrafluoroethylene, fluorethylene, neoprene, butyl, polyurethane, silicon. So you just go on naming. So there is no particular component which says there is no plastic. Okay, starting from mobile covers to the gaskets, even coatings, even the tires, tubes, okay, PVC pipes. Okay, so you will find plenty of application of these plastic materials. Okay, so there are a few disadvantages associated with that one. Maybe it may lead to the decolorization, that is photo oxidation, okay, or maybe due to the presence of a heat they can get softened, okay, So like that. So but there are advantages like non-corrosion nature, okay, lightweight and easily molded, so which finds a plenty of application of these plastics in the day-to-day life.